Mr. Justin here. I just wanted to tell you really quick about one of my favorite picture books from last year. It's Thank You Omu by Oge Mora. Now, Omu is a word from a Nigerian language that means queen, and the author called her grandmother Omu. So the main character in this book might remind you of your grandmother, particularly if your grandmother was an excellent cook. In this story, Omu is making a delicious pot of stew, and it wafts out the window of her top floor apartment into the neighborhood. And slowly but surely, one by one, different neighbors come and knock, knock, knock on her door, asking, "What is that delicious smell?" And being the sweet Omu that she is, she lets each one taste a bit until, oh no, it's all gone. What will Omu do for her dinner? You should read this story and find out. And when you do, you might just get reminded of one of your favorite relatives who made you one of your favorite meals. I think you should read Thank You Omu by Oge Mora.
Hello everyone, I'm Miss Kelsey and I'm so eager to tell you about this book that I think you have to read. It's called Crown, an ode to the fresh cut, and it's written by Derrick, illustrated by Gordon C. James. So what is this book about that makes me so eager to tell you about it? Well, first, it's won quite a few awards. It was a Newbery Honor Book, a Caldecott Honor Book, and a Coretta Scott King Honor Book, just to name a few. Secondly, it's about a boy that's getting a haircut, but not just any old haircut. It's a haircut that transforms his life, how he thinks about himself and how others look at him after his fresh cut. Can you see how confident he feels? Now, just a friendly warning, as you read this book, don't be surprised if you get the feeling that you have just been transported to the barber's chair to get a fresh cut too. You will know that you have by your new confidence. Come by the Hoover Library and check this book out.
Hey everybody, I'm Miss Emma and I'm going to be talking to you about Grandma's Purse by Vanessa Brantley-Newton. And if you're anything like me, you love when your grandmother comes to visit or you get to visit her. The little girl in this book gets super excited when her grandmother comes to visit because it means she can spend time with her and explore the wonders that are her grandmother's purse. Throughout the book, Mimi shows her granddaughter all of the wonderful things in her purse and lets her granddaughter dress up just like her using the contents of her purse. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of the book to see what special surprise Mimi has for her granddaughter. This picture book is great for all ages and it's a great way to celebrate diversity during Black History Month or any other time of the year.
Hi everybody, Miss Polly here to tell you about Harbor Me by Jacqueline Woodson. She's an African-American author who's written a lot of books for kids and teens. You may remember Locomotion or Brown Girl Dreaming. This one is for older elementary readers. It's short but very powerful. Harbor Me is a story about 6 fifth grade students who are told by their teacher, Miss Laverne, that they have to meet every Friday afternoon for an hour. And there are no adults present, no Miss Laverne, no other adults. They have to spend time together. And pretty soon they start talking, and they're talking about things that are hard to talk to anybody else about. They start calling the room the art room, for a room to talk. And over time, they discover things about each other. Like Esteban is worried that his dad is going to get deported back to the Dominican Republic. And Amari, an African-American boy, is worried about racial profiling, especially when his dad tells him that he absolutely cannot go out in public with any toy gun. And then there's Ashton, a very pale white boy who is trying to hide bruises that he gets from the 8th grade boys who are calling him names and worse as he's walking home from school. And then there's Haley, whose mom is black and her dad is white, and she's trying to get up the courage to tell them that her dad's in prison. So everybody has issues, and they start talking and trusting each other. And they remember that even though Miss Laverne's not there, on the first day of school, she challenged them. She said, if the worst thing in the world happened, would I protect someone else? And what they discover is that they know that the other kids in that room would say, I'm here for you. I will protect you. I will harbor you. Now, I listened to this book instead of reading it. I listened to it. And what I loved about it is that there was a different reader for every character in the book. And the author herself read the part of the teacher, and one of her daughters read the part of one of the characters. So that made it really fun. And an added bonus at the end was the author interviewed her son, Jackson, and they talked about his reactions to the book and her writing it and all that kind of stuff. It was really fun to listen and be challenged to think about things. And I hope that you'll give it a try and read or listen to Harbor Me.
Hi, my name is Miss Tracy, and I'm so excited to tell you about one of my favorite books. The title is Ghost, and it's by the amazing author Jason Reynolds. Now, Ghost is about a middle school boy named Castle Crenshaw, and he goes by the name of Ghost. You see, 3 years ago, his dad pulled a gun on him and his mother and threatened them. And ever since that night, Castle has called himself Ghost. He learned something about himself that night. He learned that he can run fast, and really, he's been running ever since. But he's never run on a team before. His game is basketball. Until one day, when he's walking home from school, he impulsively challenges a boy to a race. Now, this boy just happens to be on an elite track team. And guess what? Castle beats him. The boy is shocked. He's like, and he's angry too. And Castle is all, yay! And the coach is all, wow! And then the coach begs Castle to join the team. Castle is reluctant at first, but it doesn't take him long to realize that he wants to be on this team, that this is something very special that he can be a part of. But the only problem is, Ghost is still carrying around a lot of trauma from that night 3 years ago, especially anger. And if he doesn't find a way to let go of his past, then he's not going to be able to stay on the team. So, can Ghost find a way to let go of the past? Can he find a way to run to a brighter future? You'll need to read this book to find out. Also, I want to tell you that the other 3 books in this series, it is a 4-book series, are just as good as this one. So, even if you don't like sports books, which I'm not a huge fan, I still love the entire series. So, sports fan, not sports fan, it doesn't matter. Come in and pick up Ghost, and I'll bet you'll want to read all 4 books in the series.
Hi, I'm Wendy, and I'm going to tell you about Condoleeza Rice's memoir, Extraordinary Ordinary Family. Condoleeza Rice's life began in Birmingham, Alabama in the 1950s, a place and time where black people lived in the segregated parallel universe away from their white neighbors. She grew up during the violent and shocking 1960s when bloodshed became a part of daily life in the South. Rice's portrait of her parents, John and Angelina, highlights their ambitions and frustrations and shows how much they sacrificed to give their beloved only child the best chance for success. Rice also discusses the challenges of being a bright child who is passionate about music, ice skating, history, and current affairs. Her memoir reveals with vivid clarity how her early experiences sowed the seeds of her political beliefs and helped her become a vibrant, successful woman. In case you didn't know, Condoleezza Rice was the 66th U.S. Secretary of State and the first black woman to hold this office. She was also the first woman to serve as National Security Advisor. She has served as Provost at Stanford University and was the Soviet and East European Affairs Advisor to the President of the United States during the dissolution of the Soviet Union. This is a fascinating portrait of a very impressive woman.
Hey guys, I'm Miss Annabeth, and today I'm going to tell you all about an exciting new nonfiction book you can find in the youth department. So if you are a big history buff like I am, then you probably love museums, and there's not a better place to go to many, many great museums than Washington, D.C. And that is what urged me to pick up this book, How to Build a Museum by Tonya Bolden, and it is all about the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture. Now, this is an amazing museum, you guys. I have not had a chance to visit it yet, but this book got me ready to buy my plane ticket. Okay, so there's everything you need to know about this museum in this book, including how it took over 100 years for funds to be raised, the building to be built, and for all of the artifacts to be collected in order for this museum to be built. 100 years. It's insane. And then it talks all about how they started to build this museum from scratch. So that means you got to figure out what you're going to display, what's going to be inside the museum, what are you going to highlight, because the journey of African Americans in America is a long history. And it's not always pretty, it's not always joyful, but this museum really touches on all of it, including African Americans in sports, in music, in their struggle throughout history, but also all of the amazing things that so many African Americans have accomplished here in America. And I think the best thing about this book is it doesn't highlight all of the things that you would necessarily expect from an African American History and Culture Museum, but it is incredible. And I think the best thing about this book as well is that it highlights that African Americans have played a huge role in America's history as a whole, and really, regardless of your race, your gender, your ethnicity, whatever it is, you find something to love in this museum. And like I said, if you're a big museum person like I am, you have got to pick this up and then go to Washington, D.C. and see for it yourself. But yeah, How to Build a Museum by Tonya Bolden. It's going to get you really excited.
Hello, friends. I'm here to talk about two of my favorite poetry books that celebrate Black history and beyond. Both of them were published in the year 2018, so they're very, very new. You may not have heard of them yet, but guess what? I'm going to tell you about them. The first one we're going to talk about is this amazing book called 13 Ways of Looking at a Black Boy. And one poet wrote all the poems. He wrote a big introductory poem and then a series of 13 tanka poems. Tanka is a form very similar to haiku in that it follows a very strict cadence and syllable number in each line, but maybe you've never read a tanka before. It goes 5, 7, 5, 7, 7 for syllables. But he's not the only person's work featured in here, because the thing is, he partnered with 13 different African American artists, and each one has a very distinct style. So not only do the words of the poems celebrate 13 ways to look at a black boy, but there's also 13 different visualizations to show that there's lots of ways to look at a black boy. In fact, 13 is kind of limiting. There's so many ways to see the amazing African American community, both boys and girls. So this is a book that I think everyone should read, and if you want to know more about the poet or the illustrators at the end, guess what? In the back of the book, there are things about them, photos of the artists, as well as talking about the work they've done in the past, so you can find even more ways to be wowed. I hope you guys will pick up 13 Ways of Looking at a Black Boy, and I hope it will open your eyes. Now the next poetry book I want to talk to you about is a little bit different. It's definitely a melding of the past, the present, and a look to the future. This book is called Seeing Into Tomorrow, and it features poetry by a man you may or may not have heard of. His name is Richard Wright. Richard Wright was a very famous novelist, playwright, who died over 50 years ago. And during the last year of his life, he wrote a series of haiku poems. Haiku is something I mentioned in the last book talk. So haiku has 5, 7, 5 syllables in the lines, and so these are very short poems, and they are still resonating with readers today, 50 years later. Now, the illustrator of this book is a photographer who did not die 50 years ago. She is alive and still working, and she has captured modern African American boys just living their lives, pursuing their dreams, and is the backdrop for all of these amazing poems. So again, this is one that focuses on African American boys, but you don't have to be an African American boy to be able to see yourself in these pictures and to see into tomorrow. So I hope you'll take a peek at this amazing blend of past, present, and then look forward to the future. So guys, I realized that I just told you about 2 amazing books without even telling you who I am. I got so carried away with the amazing books. So hello, I'm Katie Jane, the Outreach Librarian, And I want to tell you about something, because I feel like it's kind of my job, not just as the outreach librarian, but as a fellow reader who has discovered these amazing resources. I want you to know about them too. We're only able to talk about a few books in this very short video, but if you want more things, I can tell you where to find all sorts of great things. And it's not just go to Hoover Library. Of course, come to our library, but you also should check out 2 resources online. One of them is called the Brown Bookshelf. The Brown Bookshelf is a website that maintains an extensive collection of the best African American authors and illustrators that are working today, as well as things from the past. And during the month of February, they do something amazing called 28 Days, where every day they feature a current person who is pursuing their dream of writing and illustrating for children. So it's a great way to find people who are currently creating materials about the Black experience. There's another thing that I think you should check out. It's something called the Coretta Scott King Awards. Now, have you heard of Coretta Scott King? That's right, it's the wife of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Well, she has her very own legacy. Yes, she helped her husband during his civil rights work, but she also has an award established in her name that this year is celebrating its 50th year. The Coretta Scott King Award is given every year to African American authors and illustrators who perpetuate the dream that was launched by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his wife, Coretta Scott King. So if you want some amazing and multi-award winning books, that's the place you're going to need to go. Now, the website is super long, so we're going to just have it go across this screen so that you can access it very easily. In fact, there's going to be 2 links. One is going to be to the generic, I hate to say that, but you know, the page that has everything about the award, and one is going to be about everything happening this year because of the 50th anniversary. I hope you'll take a look. I hope you'll find some wonderful books, and happy Black History Month to everyone, regardless of their race.